All voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dormy, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
we don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion. My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Well, I can't believe it's been a week already, but it is indeed Saturday night. And this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Kai Wilshaw, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, Trey Lowe and Alex Armstrong. Tonight on the show.
Keir Starmer is a pound shop tyrant.
DEI targets put women at risk.
Trump will take Greenland and it's the EU's fault.
Labour hates pubs. And in an unsafe world, Europe is our best bet. Yes, it's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Well, good evening, loyal viewers, comrades in arms, and welcome back to the Saturday 5. And what a year 2026 has been. The government is bringing in new eyesight tests for older drivers and tightening the drink-drive limit. Well, for my part, I've never understood drink driving. Drink and drive? How am I meant to hold my phone? Across the pond, Trump has held a meeting with oil barons yesterday over his plans to extract oil from Venezuela, which many foreign affairs analysts are calling absolutely Caracas.
Very good.
Caracas? Yeah.
Very good. Well, that was a good one.
Thank you.
Joke, it was a good one.
Right. And finally, poor Keir Starmer's had another torrid week in government. His plans for a fresh new focus on the cost of living has been overshadowed by the orange-faced nutjob in the White House, leaving his own MPs not fighting the cost of living, but questioning the point of living. Well, back in the drink-driving seat, it's me, lingerie model Kai Wilshaw, or at least that's what I've asked my Grok account for. And joining me tonight on the show, the man launching a campaign to shut down the border for everybody except for averagely skilled right-wing broadcasters, it's Will Will Kingston. Now next, she isn't on strike, but she's certainly striking. It's the glamazon Dr. Renee Hunderkamp. The man you can trust to tell you who's a traitor and who's a faithful, Alex Armstrong. And finally, Rupert Lowe's long-lost son, who was dropped on the head as a child and turned into a satirist, is television's Trey Lowe. Thought you'd like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. I like that.
But this show would be nothing without you, our most loyal viewers at home. You know where to tell us what we've got wrong, usually me, by visiting gbnews.com/your-say. And if you think there's a story we may have missed, get your questions in for Ask the Five in that final hour. But finally, some of you have already been voting for what you want us to debate in the Saturday Scrap, which is the time-honoured tradition, of course, where I get ripped to shreds by whoever wants a pop on the panel that night. The three options are: 1, is the government giving in to Islamists? 2, should a pint buy you from driving home? And 3, should the UK intervene and stop Trump taking Greenland? Go to gbnews.com/poll to vote in the poll. But before we start tearing each other apart, are you ready for even more news? Because it's time for your Saturday night news bulletin with Sophia Wensler.
Kai, thank you and good evening. Your headlines at 3 minutes past 6. Iran is facing international condemnation over the killing of anti-government protesters, and demonstrations have spread to London too, where a protester climbed onto the balcony of the Iranian embassy. At least 50 people have been killed in Iran since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. And to try and curb the growing unrest, internet and phone lines have been shut off and flights have been cancelled. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has issued a joint statement alongside the leaders of France and Germany, urging Tehran to exercise restraint. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has also threatened to use force if the violence doesn't stop. Now, it's reported the Home Secretary will begin evicting migrants living in hotels from as early as the spring. Shabana Mahmood is also expected to end the government's legal duty to automatically support asylum seekers, including stripping weekly allowances. It's understood the new measures will target migrants who can financially support themselves but choose not to, those who have a right to work, those who break the law, and those who refuse an order to leave the country. Elon Musk has accused Sir Keir Starmer's government of being fascist after ministers threatened to ban the social media site X over AI-generated sexualised images. It all came after Downing Street called changes to chatbot Grok insulting to victims of misogyny and sexual violence. The tech tycoon claimed critics of his X platform want any excuse for censorship. Elsewhere, Prince Harry is reportedly planning to invite his father, the King, to the Invictus Games and could even ask him to open the event in what's being described as a major olive branch. King Charles and his family will be offered formal invitations to the Games in 2027, organised by the Duke's Foundation, which has said it would very much welcome the presence of the royal family. And a major shock in the FA Cup. Crystal Palace have been knocked out at the third round stage by non-league side Macclesfield Town. The remarkable 2-1 win came after captain Paul Dawson put Macclesfield ahead of the reigning FA Cup champions, and Palace failed to muster a response before Isaac Buckley-Ricketts doubled the lead on the hour. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Yes, it's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. As you know, over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. I'm really glad because you have already been getting plenty of comments in. Joe Average asks, Kai, has Trey come out as a Lib Dem yet? Yes. What's the status of that, Trey?
I think the Lib Dems are absolutely brilliant.
Great.
That's a yes for you. Then we've got Andy Davis. I hope Renee's cough has gone by now. I hope so too.
I just heard one, actually.
Lady Tatterley, Will Kingston, be still by beating heart. It's nice that your mum still writes in, Will.
Yeah, 50 quid well spent.
Well, without further ado, I think you know what I'm talking about, so let's crack on with tonight's first debate. And yes, in this unsafe world, Europe, unfortunately for some, is our only hope. Now, tonight, even as I speak, nationwide protests continue to spread across Iran. Hospitals overwhelmed, families too scared to report casualties injured or killed by a despotic regime. Trump responds by saying, "You better not start shooting because we'll start shooting too." The man who has upended one continent threatens the same to others, with designs on Greenland and patience wearing thin with the Ukraine. Be under no illusion, this is not normal. But Trump's actions should underline two salient facts. First, that the United States' fierce protection of its own interests requires Britain to step up too. And second, that our only hope to advance our interests is in lockstep with Europe. Instead, we're quibbling over minor details of animal welfare and pesticide usage in the still-to-be-negotiated reset deal with the EU. We are still locked out of a $150 billion EU defence deal. And our military, as one colonel told me just before Christmas, can only muster a couple of weeks at an expanded, hypothetical European front line. Meanwhile, hybrid warfare threatens our energy supplies, our undersea cables, and our way of life. And on immigration, arguably the biggest crisis this government and governments before it has faced, we're resorting to half measures instead of tackling it before migrants reach the Channel. Now, a different Europe is needed, yes, but it is our only hope. Alex, you're a realist. Isn't that a realist point of view that I've advanced there?
You know, a realist point of view would never look at a group of failing ex-superpowers that can't even agree on a military plan to back up Ukraine, that can't even wean themselves off Russian oil and gas who's propping up Putin's war. A realist would say, no, you look after yourself first and we prioritise sovereignty of Britain. And I think this internationalist perspective where we go, let's cosy up to the EU, who, by the way, are still slamming us after Brexit. They're not helping us. They are deliberately trying to stifle Brexit. I don't want to cosy up to people that are making British people's lives more difficult. I think we should be getting away from them.
Britain can't go it alone. Surely you can't believe that. Will, surely you can't believe that.
No, I don't. No, I don't believe it can go it alone. But a realist wouldn't also, after doing that dramatic spiel, end by saying, well, we need Europe, but we need a different Europe.
Yeah.
Because that goes to show that the Europe that we have at the moment is a busted flush.
No.
One thing you didn't actually mention is that Europe's military capabilities are completely and totally busted. The only military that has any chance of suppressing the threats from China and Russia is the United States. And you know who knows that? Europe, which is why they've been relying on them for funding for the last 30 years. And just because now Trump has forced them to come to the table doesn't mean that they are in any position to stop the threat from Russia and the even bigger threat from China.
OK, but I'm going to answer your question, but also pull you up. Why don't you think Britain can go it alone? Why can't we be a sovereign nation that trades and works with other people as we see fit?
Economically, that's a different discussion. I'm talking militarily.
But Renee, what do you think our best option is then? Surely it is our closest neighbours, those that are closest to our culture, and that are ramping up military spending that they're clearly going to have to do.
But we are going to have to ramp up military spending anyway.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that on our own? And we should do it at speed. We should actually be concentrating our money there instead of frittering it away on migrant hotels and people breaking into the country every day. Let's focus it at home. Let's build up our army again. Let's make people proud enough of this country that they actually want to be part of this army. And then let's look around the world for who are actually showing leadership. And I tell you what, it's not in the Europe direction, it's across the sea.
Do you really think, do any of you really think that the US is seeing what we see now a reliable ally for the UK? Sooner or later, he'll come for us.
Absolutely. The United States. Oh, so ridiculous. The United States of America is Britain's closest ally, and it always has been, and it always will be.
Sentimental rubbish.
No, it's not sentimental rubbish. You just saw the joint operation we did on those oil vessels carrying illegal oil to Russia and other parts of the world. We intervened with them with the United States, of course. But it's joint. Also, at the end of the day, we need to remember the only reason Europe's talking about military defence now is because Donald Trump has forced them to. They laughed at Trump when he told them in the United Nations that Germany's too cosy with Russia and oil and gas. They literally laughed at him, and he was proven right, wasn't he? It is this weak British leadership who, Keir Starmer, who can't even make a statement about a war before he confers with European leaders. Weak. Get away from the war.
I think Kai's definitely got a point. I think we do need allies that share our interests, and I think right now it is only Europe. But I think the problem with Europe is I have to agree with Alex, there's not much leadership necessarily. But Kai's right. We can't rely on America.
Okay, so
at the moment,
we should rely on ourselves.
Turn on anything that we do.
We should rely on ourselves.
Alex,
Yes.
you've been talking about realism.
Yes.
And we know we're in this sort of big power battle now.
Yeah.
Britain has not a chance in hell of going it.
Why
alone.
is
Look at our
that
military
high?
capacity
Can I
now.
ask- okay,
Even if
answer
we
the
ramp
question.
up to 3.5, 5%.
Fine.
There's no chance.
Why is it the case that Britain can't go it alone anymore?
Look at our military capacity. Talk to army generals.
Yes, but
Right,
why?
let me. But you're just making.
And it'll take
All right.
10, 15
The military
years
is
to be
weak because we have given all of our military over to NATO and relied on America to look after us. That's one. Trade is weak because we gave it all up to the European Union, who's thrown it in our
And
faces,
China.
and China. Britain is weak because we have constantly given things up to other countries. We need to renationalise parts of our industry so we can have a steelworks. We can make sure that British people can be fed during a war. It is weak because it has relied on other people like a baby on a teat.
And if you think that Europe is going to be the answer against America, Russia, China and India, you are living up on the clouds.
But the US can't be trusted.
Why not?
Do you really think? No, I think we should keep them as allies, keep friendly. But this idea, this notion that we stick onto, that the US and the UK have this special relationship, that they'll look out for some of our interests too, is for the birds.
I can't see, at least in the start of this year, which has been frantic, anything which they have done or suggest to do which is contrary to UK interests.
No, but
it is good, for example, that a dictator has been removed forcibly from Venezuela. It is good that they are ramping up security in the Western Hemisphere. It is good that they have recognised that, for example, in Greenland, there is a huge military threat from China and Russia, not just to the United States, but to the United Kingdom, that can only be resolved if the US has a stronger presence.
But Will, do you think it would be OK for them to take Greenland by force?
They're not going to take it by force.
But we don't know that, and that's one of the issues.
We'll be talking about that.
Can I just say?
Talk about that in a bit.
You talk about how great Europe is and how they're our allies. I can't name a single thing that continent has done for us. When has anyone helped us? We have saved that continent from 2 world wars. British people fought and died while many of those countries waved the white flag and all their citizens lived under the oppression of Nazis. No, it's true. It is true. Britain came to the rescue. Britain came to the rescue of the continent twice. We bled for that continent, and as soon as we won our independence from their bureaucratic, horrible institution, they completely go on the attack against us. They're not our friends. They're our adversaries.
Aqueducts?
Completely not true.
Oh, well, the Romans, yeah. Let's go back 1,000 years
Public
or so.
health?
Yeah.
But,
all right, I'll give you that.
Alex said earlier that part of the problem that we've got with not being able to cope on our own is that we've given everything away. Just this very week, we have decided to give... There were 2 bids. Give Lindsay Oil Refinery to the company that's going to break it up and close it down, when there was another equal bid that would have kept it open, so it was another industry we had with the jobs that went with it. We are on self-destruct because of net zero, and this Labour government is so wedded to it that we have no chance of actually standing on our own.
Where I do agree with you is that as part of this argument that I've made is that we do need to get real in a lot of other ways. We do need to keep the North Sea oil fields open, and I think the Labour government is coming round to that on a few different decisions.
Just this week, they closed the oil refinery. And do you know what we're going to do? We'll send our oil to Norway on a boat, giving up carbon emissions. They'll refine it for us, paying their people to do it, and then they'll ship it back to us.
Which is an obvious nonsense. But we need to reindustrialise, and we need to up our defence spending massively. We need to lead Europe, but I think we can. And I think actually what Starmer's been doing here is corralling, for instance, European nations to focus much more on Greenland and invite the US. Invite the US simply to use its treaty.
That man couldn't lead a bunch of school children down a road.
The evidence speaks for itself. No, on foreign affairs, he's been pretty good, I'd say.
I think that's a complete farce. It's been debunked time and time again now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's enough from you. We have Will coming up after the break. Will, what are you going to be talking about?
Yeah, Keir Starmer can't lead a group of school children down the road, but he certainly can try and take down a social media platform to satisfy his dime, stop, or store.
Pound
store. Well, I've got dime store and pound shop.
Yeah, well done, yeah.
The statistics are all off. I'm going to tell you all about it.
He's pound lad, basically.
Fantastic.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. We've got plenty of comments. After that debate that we just had, I think actually a lot of the viewers agree with your end of the table, not mine.
As usual.
Yeah. What Mandy says, what far-left dictator Labour can't be trusted. I'd rather trust America. The EU detest us. And Lady of the House says that France and Germany have never been our friends and never will be.
Yeah.
So I have a couple that I'd like to read out, if I may.
Go ahead, take the floor.
The first one is from James Taylor that says, can anyone explain why Alex is orange? And the other one is from Neil Norfolk, who says, has Alex been going, I'm going to ask you this as a question, Alex, to the same tanning salon as the Donald?
Do you know what it is? I'm preparing to invade Greenland, actually. It's going to be a fantastic invasion.
The biggest ever.
The greatest ever invasion.
I do like how it started as a great impersonation and you're slowly becoming him.
Yeah.
I noticed just when we're chatting occasionally.
Well, he's getting old.
Into it.
He's getting old. Someone's got to fill the boots one day, you know.
I like that. That is, you know, that is in keeping with your ambition.
We should each get a different impression. I've been working on my Keir Starmer, but I won't do that for now. Keep getting in contact at gbnews.com/your say. But now it's time for our next debate. Will, take it away.
Thank you, Kai. Yes, yesterday Keir Starmer responded to complaints about Grok, which is Twitter or X's AI tool, about the ability that it has to digitally alter the images of women and children, and men actually, to strip them of clothes. At risk of a ratings dip, let's hear from Mr. Charisma himself.
Disgraceful. It's disgusting. And it's not to be tolerated. X has got to get a grip of this. And Ofcom have full support to take action in relation to this. This is wrong, it's unlawful, we're not going to tolerate it. I've asked for all options to be on the table. It's disgusting.
I don't believe you, Prime Minister. I don't believe you because I've never heard that level of passion around the actual violence and rape of young white working class women at the hands of Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs. I don't believe you because you haven't called out any of the other multiple platforms that do the same thing, like Google's Gemini, like ChatGPT, like you could do with Photoshop 20 years ago. I don't believe you because X has rapidly responded to your concerns by limiting this feature to use just by paying subscribers, as in people who have provided their name and their bank account details and could be pursued under existing legislation. I don't believe you. So what's this about? What is this really about? And it's simple. It's pound shop tyranny. It is a naked attempt to try and shut down the one platform that has dragged this government kicking and streaming to admit that a man can be a woman, to call out the atrocity of rape gangs, amidst many other U-turns and changes of heart back to a sensible position, giving everyday people a voice. Yeah. Unfortunately, the instincts of this tyrant, and he may not be a tyrant, unfortunately, that Donald Trump will pick up in a helicopter and take away, but he's the type of tyrant that cloaks his level of intolerance with bureaucratic language and that awful shriek of please can we think about the children, when it is not about the children, this is not about safety, this is an attempt to shut you up, and we need to fight back against it.
Well said, well said.
Great to Dr. Renee, I think, on this one.
OK, so I agree with you, and I'm going to add to it, though, because there are other sides to this which are very worrying. I agree with you that the reason that he is attacking X is because they detest X. They detest the fact that they exposed them on the grooming gangs and had to drag them there. So, yes, they detest Elon for that. They also hate billionaires that have power. We know that, unless they're donating to their party. But on the other side of it, Elon hasn't done enough. And I don't mean that X should be shut down. Having someone be able to pay to undress me and use me in a porn video on the dark web is not acceptable in any way. Having a baby put into porn videos by AI on Grok is not acceptable on any way, in any way.
No one is condoning that.
He hasn't gone far enough, but I agree with you that there is a target at X.
Yeah, I do want to make just a slight counterpoint, because I do agree with you, by the way, particularly when it comes to children. There should be zero tolerance on that. We have to also just state that they're not physically undressing people. It's a digital version of it, basically, right?
Yes,
so it creates a fake version.
It's an image with your head.
With your head, exactly. The only thing I would say is that if we end up banning programs, we also have to look at banning things like Photoshop, which is, you can also do it on that. Someone could Photoshop me into an image too. We have to look at banning that. We've got to be careful not to be too selective about how, and be very careful that we don't end up letting the government censor us for the sake of us stomaching a little bit of indignity.
This is not a little bit of indignity there, because they have found pornographic pictures of children on the dark web.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
Okay.
There's got to be a limit.
Right. I think we're ignoring it. Why did it even exist in the first place? I think that's one of the issues. And not only that, I think, X in many ways has become a bit of a cesspool, even for things like pornography anyway. I think that's a big issue. I think he's actually got a point when it comes to X.
I don't disagree with you, but any platform where you are sharing large amounts of information with millions and millions of people, there's going to be disgusting stuff on it. We don't shut down the Royal Mail because drug dealers use it as a way to traffic drugs to their customers, which happens every day.
Well, there's an obvious difference, right? And where I'd say X is different to any other online platform at the minute, all of which have to comply to the Online Safety Act and other laws that make all of this illegal, is, you say that nobody condones this. Elon Musk condones this.
No, he doesn't.
He does. And I'll tell you for why I think he doesn't care. On Thursday, Sarah B. Rogers, let me finish. Sarah B. Rogers, the US Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy, said, deepfakes are troubling. We need to have it's a frontier issue that calls for a tailored response, and that this isn't a tailored response. Fine. What also happened last week, though, on Thursday, is Elon Musk asked to loosen AI rules within his own AI unit at X, and as a result, 3 safety engineers left. He has no interest in regulating this, in making it more difficult to create child sex abuse images.
Right.
He has no interest. This is purely business for him.
Fine.
And Keir Starmer has to come out strongly against this. I don't think they'll ban X, but they certainly need to get into a slang match.
Can I just say this? Because first of all, Elon Musk is the only current leader in AI that has listened to that feedback, and he's already done something about it by restricting this very, very quickly within 24 hours. Nobody else has done anything. Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, who saw AI, which not only manipulates pictures of you, but can do videos of you as well. Nothing's happened there. There's no criticism from the left about Sam Altman and OpenAI and ChatGPT. No criticism about Google and Google's Gemini platform, who can do exactly the same features. There is a reason why they're going after Elon Musk and why the left are attacking Elon Musk is because you don't like his political opinions. Because unlike those other corporate faceless leaders who don't tell you what they think, who conspire against you with governments, Elon Musk doesn't conspire with governments. He tells you what he thinks, and people don't like it on the left.
Conspire
Don't
with
like
governments.
Well, he doesn't.
Alex, you make me
he doesn't.
laugh.
He doesn't.
Come on.
And the rest of them do. It's simple as that.
You know what I think is a bit sad, though? There are a lot of people on the right who talk about the safety of women and children, and I think they're just taking this not as seriously as it needs to be deserved. I mean, at the end of the day, it impacts mainly women and children. No one's taking an old bloke and actually doing him in a bikini.
That's not
but
true.
they're doing women and it's children, and it's vile and disgusting, and it needs to be dealt with.
They've done it to Keir Starmer several times by chucking him in a bikini, and I would
Keir
argue
Starmer.
that also has a role to play in why he is so bothered about it, because of pettiness and ego.
Did he not look good in a bikini?
I have seen better-looking people in bikinis. Yes.
The thing is, right?
Alex's point makes clear that is not his body; it is a digital recreation.
The thing is, we all want. Of course, no one is saying that this is a good thing that you're able to do this, right? Nobody is saying that. My point is this: there is selective outrage on the left. You've been able to do these deep fakes on other platforms for a very, very long time. It's prolific on Facebook, it's prolific on Instagram, and it's prolific on TikTok. But none of them have faced criticism. No government, no Prime Minister's come out and said
anything. Because Elon Musk has been spending the last year criticising the Online Safety Act on spurious grounds, basically because of his own business interests.
Interestingly, I'm not a supporter of the Online Safety Act because I do not believe it will sort out these issues, and I do believe it is another form of control against adults.
Yeah.
So I don't want control of adults, but I do think we have a right to our own images when they're manipulated.
Exactly. And all this stuff about them being deepfakes, for all intents and purposes, it will look like you and me. There is no way you're going to decide.
Well, it can't look exactly like your body.
My son on there. And
but all I was clarifying for the audience to say, because it's not exactly your body that they're putting on you. So
Can I just finish?
There's a big difference.
Before we finish, Will, do you really think this is the first salvo in banning X? Or is this a negotiation tactic? In which case, of course, the threat of banning it is the way to deal with a tyrant like Elon Musk, isn't it?
I have no evidence that Keir Starmer has any skill in negotiation whatsoever. So I would suggest that this is a very real threat to banning.
He has a point. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to blame it on Ofcom. They're going to wash their hands of it by saying, we have empowered Ofcom. We're basically saying to Ofcom, you must do this. So they are actually... My worry here is this is actually part of a bigger picture. Jury trials are going. We're cancelling elections left, right and centre. Now we're going to ban X. This is about free speech. Whilst two things can be true at the same time. That scares me, the free speech element, but so is the thought of my daughter's image being manipulated on the dark web.
Absolutely. Well, we have plenty more to come on that topic. Let us know what you think. But Alex, what do you have coming up for us?
Yeah, well, Trump looks likely to take Greenland, but whose fault really is it? Is it Trump's, or is it our weak neighbours in the EU?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Strong winds are expected across eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, heavy rain will affect parts of Turkey into Cyprus as well. This system is gradually moving away, so it's going to dry up across Greece and the Greek islands early next week. A few showers eastern parts of Italy, otherwise plenty of fine weather, and Spain's looking reasonable. Sunny spells, average temperatures. Likewise for the Canaries, plenty of fine weather to come during the days ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing. All because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day. So the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland. But this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all, and it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Yes, welcome back to the Saturday 5. We've been discussing over the break whether you'd move to Greenland. I'm maybe a yes, but I think maybe everybody else is
I'm
no.
a firm no.
For 100 grand,
firm
to
no,
clarify.
it's not enough to
I would for 100 grand.
Yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah, 100 grand, definitely. Yeah, bring it on. After
Me and Win are not going. But I have a comment that I want to read. I'm going to. Sean O'Sullivan says, Kai, LOL, who do you think you are? Citizen Smith? Lots of LOLs. Where's your Afghan coat and Che Guevara beret and T-shirt? Lefty. I'm old enough to remember that show.
Well, I forgot my Che Guevara beret at home, I'm afraid.
Do you remember all those T-shirts people used to have for Che Guevara?
They were cool lad for you, those.
Funny, it's not Shaven now. Sorry, I'm thinking of someone else. Was it Guevara's? Did they bomb his tomb? Was it? Am I thinking of somewhere else?
No, that was Venezuela.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Chavez, wasn't it? Thank you.
Well,
commies are all the same. They all look the same. They all act the same. They all say the same thing.
We're taking over.
Sorry, Kai. Speaking of commies, you go.
I was going to go through all those other meaningful comments engaging with the debates we just had, but we have no time now, Dr. Renee. So, Alex, what do you have up for us?
Yes, I'll be talking about Greenland, and well, I think it's about time we talked about this because Trump wants Greenland, doesn't he? And frankly, I don't blame him, and here's why. Russia and China are expanding their military footprint even across the Arctic. It's not speculation, that is happening right now. And Greenland is the single most strategically valuable piece of territory in the North Atlantic, and it's sitting under the protection of Denmark, a country, by the way, that barely invests in its own defence, let alone the defence of the vast Arctic frontier that surrounds it. And Greenlanders also aren't happy with Denmark and have been pushing for independence for decades. Well, Trump says Europe's not doing enough. Well, he's right. Our leaders can't even agree on how to sustain Ukraine's war efforts. Military spending across the continent has hollowed out for decades. And when Trump warned Germany about its dependence on Russian energy, they laughed in his face, didn't they? Do you remember that at the UN? It was ridiculous. Well, they're not laughing now, are they? Because the EU is still buying billions in Russian gas, directly funding Putin's war machine. What a circus. What a joke. So let's be honest. If Europe won't break its energy reliance on Russia, which it doesn't seem it's like to, if it won't rebuild its armed forces, if it prioritises net zero over national security, then it has no credibility defending Greenland from actual superpowers like China and Russia. That's why Trump sees no alternative. If Europe won't protect Greenland, as Europe has proven it can't and it won't, then would you rather have it as Russian or Chinese, or would you prefer it to be American? And here's the brutal reality. If America believes it could take Greenland by force if necessary, then you can absolutely bet your bottom dollar Putin and Xi Jinping believe the same. Kai?
Gosh, the lunatic really has been let out of the asylum, hasn't he, Alex? I mean, come on. The US doesn't need Greenland for national security. It already has a treaty-based permission to install whatever they need on there, defence forces, whatever. Europe should, yes, replenish forces up to the 10,000 or so they had in the Cold War. That is all consistent. That is all consistent with Denmark keeping Greenland. Like... I really don't see how allowing other countries to take over sovereign territories makes any sense.
My point is...
Falkland Islands, what would you do if...
We defended it.
Can I just say, Renee has been frantically waving at the side of the table.
It's OK. I just wanted to speak here. I think you just hit it in the head in your last paragraph, which basically is that one of those major forces that we seem to have the blinkers on, we seem to be ignoring the fact that China and Russia and the USA are the forces in the world now that are going to take these places because they want them. And the longer we ignore them, the more they're going to be able to do that.
Right.
And I would rather that Greenland, with all of its strategic positioning, was in the hands of the USA.
Guys, would you prefer it to be Chinese or Russian, Trey?
I think everything that Kai said at the start, he just proved his point. I mean, how much are we going to capitulate? What if it was the Falkland Islands? What if we ended up, I don't know, with a Green Prime Minister or something, and Trump or someone didn't like him, and they went and took British territory? Do you guys not see what you're literally letting out of the cage now? You're letting in literally, power is everything, we're going to take it. Russia and China are not going to march into Greenland and take it, but they will start doing stuff like that if they see America acting that way, then they potentially act that way.
And you know that because you're working with the...
Look, listen, there needs to be an element of rule of law. We used to laugh at Trump when he used to say these things. I don't think anyone's laughing now.
How do you know that China doesn't want Greenland?
Listen, China's not going to march their troops in there.
Do you think China have already tried to get all the minerals?
I think that
Answer that question.
This is what's happening. Us relying on Americans as an ally, I think those days are gone, and we have to deal with actually having a strong Europe, unfortunately. Britain's never going to be strong enough to defend it.
Let me answer it for you. China has already tried to take Greenland
by force.
Nicely. Well,
they haven't invaded anywhere.
But they have tried to do a deal, and the EU stopped it because Greenland was part of Denmark and hence the EU. China have their eye on that land.
Of course they would do that.
The Falklands analogy is interesting. There are a couple of very, very big differences. Number one is that the Falkland Islanders are more British than the British. There is a very strong British identity there. There is not a strong Danish identity in Greenland. In fact, about 90% are Inuits who, from what I understand, generally don't like the Danish influence.
But they're not
in
Americans,
the
are they? They're not people from Wisconsin, are they?
The second thing is that there wasn't the strategic significance to the same extent of the Falkland Islands as there is in Greenland. Now, unfortunately, you may want to have a strong Europe that is taking control of that area. There isn't a strong Europe. That is the reality that we live in. And Europe and the US will be safer if they have a greater capacity to be able to establish a strong military system there.
But the precedent matters, right? Because it's not just... I mean, we have a bunch of overseas territories, some of which are really very strategically placed, not just Falkland Islands, but, a British Indian Ocean territory, also known as the Pagos Islands. But then also think about French territories all across the world and the rest of the European countries. This matters. If we allow the US, just because they're an ally of ours, just because we need them, to unilaterally annex countries.
The precedent matters to whom? Does it matter to China and Russia? Because I can tell you they can't care less about precedent. So who does the precedent matter to?
This is the problem. Will's exactly right. The problem is that we talk about international law, but it's toothless. It's absolutely toothless in the face of Venezuela. It's toothless in the face of Ukraine. It's toothless in the face of Iran and all these places. So we can talk about how much we love all these things, but actually it only applies to weak nations. Yeah. And that's not, and it's unfortunately an unrealistic perspective to think superpowers won't take what they want.
On one hand, I agree, right? But that's always been the case, that the likes of China, the likes of Russia will do as they want regardless. But the moral and legal precedent still matters because there are heaps of middle countries all across the world, middle powers, right? Think about India and Pakistan, think about Nigeria, think about South Africa. There's all sorts of chaos you could unleash. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it there. Trey, what do you have for us after the break? Not after the break. Now.
Oh, is it now?
I'm all over the place. It's me, Trey.
Go into it. So I want to talk about, I really don't think Labour likes pubs. So let me be clear from the outset. I am not defending drink driving in any way. But this week, there's talk about lowering the drink drive limit. Now, of course, that's going to affect pubs, but more than anything, it's going to affect a lot of rural pubs. I think most people are used to going to the pub. I know I don't really drink, but people go to the pub, they might have a pint, maybe a glass of wine, and most people would say that that was safe. But under these new proposals, that may not be safe anymore, which is going to have a potentially disastrous impact on pubs, especially rural pubs, who are already suffering. They're suffering with rate increase. Thank God for Labour's U-turn, because they really would have all gone under. They're suffering with higher costs all across the board, and now they've got this, the big one. If people don't want to drive to the pub, and they have to in a lot of rural areas, they simply won't go. And what we're going to see is the death of probably one of the most important aspects of British culture, and that's the good old-fashioned pub. I think this is an absolute disaster if this actually happens. What do you guys think?
I completely agree with you, and I think Labour don't like pubs. They have been at war with them since they got into office through multiple policies. The problem they don't like. The reason why they don't like pubs is because pubs provide a space for us to talk about the issues of the country. It's quite clear that this government does not value free speech. It doesn't like criticism. And one place people go to do that is the pub. And they've even got this banter ban, the Angela Rayner's brainchild, the banter ban, where you can't, if you're offended too much, the pub can be sued. That will close them down left, right and centre. You've got the taxes left, right and centre. You've got the business rates, which they're now going to have to U-turn on, but we don't know how much they're going to U-turn on it by. It's clear they don't like pubs.
I hadn't considered that element of it, the fact that revolutions start in pubs, and you're very right. But I would add the fact that there is a moral puritanism at the heart of Labor, which means that they are very happy to crack down on pubs. But also, pubs are what is best about this country. They are a representation of Englishness in many ways, and there is an attack on what it means to be English in many ways from this government in favour of this sort of bland, globalist type of culture. For all of those reasons, it's very obvious as to why they would try to tax these sorts of businesses out of existence.
No, I mean, can I just put a small counterpoint in here? Because, look, I love a pub. I think they're great. But they are businesses, right? They've suffered over many years, and it's not this U-turn here, this business rates U-turn that will make the difference. It's also not, frankly, to do with the breathalyzers, and drink driving. Frankly, people need to put their money where their mouth is. And just like the high street, where we see people lamenting the closure of the high street and the closure of small shops, people need to go to their local pub.
I thought everyone was going to be in agreement. When you live outside of London, which you have done, you've lived in Wales, going to your pub where there's no buses because they finish at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, no Ubers means you go in your car. And if you can't drive your car, then you don't go to the pub. So that's number one. Number two, they've put up energy prices, and energy prices have gone up dramatically since they came in. Number three, they've introduced the ridiculous Employment Act, which is going to stop people talking about these things, lest it offends Blue-haired Mary in the corner, who was once David. And number four, I've lost count.
You've lost me there.
And number four, they're putting the minimum wage, and pubs are an entry point for young people. Labour have demonstrated they don't understand business, and people are now going to go to Sainsbury's and get their VAT free drink.
You've missed another thing. Dr. Rennie's missed another thing, though.
We're going to stay
in cars.
We're going to stay with you, Dr. Rennie. What do you have coming up?
So I'm going to talk about how the Metropolitan Police has shown that DEI is actually dangerous for women.
Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. We've got Dr. Renee cracking lewd jokes here in the breaks. That's unexpected. I thought it's the spirit of Darren Grimes returning to the channel after New Year's Eve. Oh, please get in contact. As always, we love seeing your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But now I think it's time for our final debate.
Let's go. OK, so anyone who has watched the diversity steamroller roll through our institutions will not be surprised to hear this week that the Met Police Diversity Panel helped usher in new policemen of the right colour and race who did not pass vetting, but a blind eye was turned, and they were guilty of serious criminal offences and misconduct. DEI recruitment is not harmless. It is dangerous, especially to women and children. Positions of power should never be decided on the colour of your skin or your race. The only thing that should ever count is your competence to do the job that you are asking to do. Yeah. Anything else is institutional negligence. Fixation on diversity targets, the Metropolitan Police sacrifice women's safety. There's no other way to say it. A vetting panel designed to promote diversity, that should never exist, by the way, overturned a decision to reject Cliff Mitchell and actually give him a job instead, despite an earlier accusation of raping a child. He went on to carry on a campaign of rape against 2 victims. This was no isolated failure. At least 131 Met Police officers and staff went on after being passed when they were originally failed to commit crimes. Crimes of a sexual offence, crimes of drug dealing or something to do with drugs after this inadequate vetting. This is the end result of DEI wokery. Identity placed above women and children's safety. And we've seen it time and time again. Grooming gangs, the protection of women in their protected spaces, it just doesn't happen. And now, rapists in police uniforms. This has to be the end of DEI in any of our institutions today.
Yeah. Nah, I definitely got to push back on some of that. I mean, you've got to remember, part of the DI thing is also about having more women in the force as well. I think what you're talking about is more of a pressure of recruitment there, the pressure to increase the numbers of police really, really quickly, and some of the safeguards that you would normally have in place.
Have you read the story?
They didn't have in place. But I think blanket blaming of DEI for that is a bit of a stretch.
It wasn't about that, Trey. It was about ticking diversity boxes. It wasn't about pressure of recruitment. Read the story.
But can I just ask, what is the benefit in terms of the safety of people and the reduction of crime in having more women in the police force?
Because under you do want a police force that is representative of the communities that are going to be policed. There's going to be some instances when having female police officers is going to be better than men in terms of de-escalation. You guys would know that. And there are some instances, I mean, we're talking here later, we're going to be talking about diversity, where you want people policing communities where they have something in common.
You know,
there's nothing wrong with that necessarily.
I just say
there's nothing wrong with that.
I just say the point of the police is to enforce the law.
Yeah.
If they can't enforce the law, they're not doing their job. It doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, white, woman, whatever you are. If you can't do your job and enforce the law, you're a bad police officer. And that should be the key point of hiring. The reason why our police are being captured in places like the West Midlands, for example, where we're seeing them bow in and cave into radical Islamists, in my opinion, is because we have focused too much on community cohesion, diversity and all these things, rather than them focusing on, can we enforce the law properly? And they're failing to do that. They're failing to keep Jewish people safe. They're leaning into this community cohesion stuff, which is what led to the rape gang crisis up and down the country. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense.
I think
Good
that
people will
argument,
rise to the top.
I think the argument only works if you know, bad behaviour from police, like what you talked about, only happened since the rise of DEI.
No,
if you go back through the history of the Metropolitan Police, there have been so many instances of men behaving badly, and that's what it is.
What you're talking about, what there should be is there should be equality of opportunity. So as many women, black people, Asian people, brown people, aliens, whatever it is, should be able to get a fair interview in the police, but there should not be equality of outcome.
Right.
Agreed on that point.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. We do have a right of reply. Assistant Commissioner, Rachel Williams, said, in publishing this report today, we are being open and transparent about past vetting and recruitment practices that led, in some cases, to unsuitable people joining the Met. We found that some historical practices did not meet the strengthened hiring and vetting standards we have today. We have identified these issues ourselves and have fixed them quickly while making sure any risk to the public has been properly and effectively managed. Well, as you know, lots more to come on the show tonight. We're going to be talking pints and pubs, cannabis, plenty more after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing, all because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions, rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day, so the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west, still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all, and it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Kai Wilshaw, the Welsh Whinger, along with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, Trey Lowe, and Alex Armstrong. You swapped there. Tonight on the show.
Get your questions in for Ask the Five.
Is the government giving in to Islamists?
And are we drinking a lot more pints because we've got to sell 1.3 billion pints this year just to cover Labour's tax hike?
And cannabis prescription sure for mental health patients.
Yes, it's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Yeah, welcome back to the Saturday 5. You've been giving us lots of comments on those that pub discussion. Actually, we had one earlier. Scarlett Evans was asking, is the GB News bar open already?
I saw that.
You lot are nuts. That was at 6 p.m, so just wait what we have in store for you.
It's always worrying when someone calls you out for being drunk when you're completely sober and it's just your personality.
Yeah,
I think it's a compliment. It means we're happy.
Yeah. And we have been getting lots of questions in for Ask the Five, but do remember to visit gbnews.com/your say. Put Ask the Five if you want us to look at them in the final hour. But before we start kicking off again in the break and outside, it's your Saturday Night News with Sophia Wensler.
Kai, thank you and good evening. Your headlines at 7:01. Iran is facing international condemnation over the killing of anti-government protesters, and demonstrations have spread to London too, where a protester climbed onto the balcony of the Iranian embassy today. At least 50 people have been killed in Iran since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. And to try and curb the growing unrest, internet and phone lines have been shut off and flights cancelled. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has issued a joint statement alongside the leaders of France and Germany, urging Tehran to exercise restraint. Donald Trump has also threatened to use force if the violence doesn't stop. Warnings for snow, ice, wind and rain remain in force this weekend as Britain braces for further wintry weather following Storm Goretti. Tens of thousands of people in England have been left without power and one person has been killed in Cornwall following the severe weather. It's reported the Home Secretary will begin evicting migrants living in hotels from the spring. Shabana Mahmood is also expected to end the government's legal duty to automatically support asylum seekers, including stripping weekly allowances. It's understood the new measures will target migrants who can financially support themselves but choose not to, those who have a right to work, those who break the law and those who refuse in order to leave the country. In other news now, Elon Musk has accused Sir Keir Starmer's government of being fascist after ministers threatened to ban the social media site X over AI-generated sexualised images. It came after Downing Street called changes to chatbot Grok insulting to victims of misogyny and sexual violence. The tech tycoon claimed critics of his X platform want any excuse for censorship. Prince Harry is reportedly planning to invite his father, the King, to the Invictus Games and could even ask him to open the event in what's being described as a major olive branch. King Charles and his family will be offered formal invitations to the Games in 2027, organised by the Duke's Foundation, which has said it would very much welcome the presence of the royal family. And a major shock in the FA Cup. Crystal Palace have been knocked out at third-round stage by non-league side Macclesfield Town. The remarkable 2-1 win came after captain Paul Dawson put Macclesfield ahead of the reigning FA Cup champions, and Palace failed to muster a response before Isaac Buckley-Ricketts doubled the lead on the hour. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to the Saturday 5.
Yes, it's Saturday night and I'm laughing at some of the viewer comments tonight. We've got a Kai who cuts your hair, the council. No, not quite. Colin Chapman, DEI.
It's a good way to fix council budgets, go into the hairdressing business.
Yeah, absolutely. DEI is the only reason Trey and Kai are on this show. Nice.
Thanks.
Got to get a job somehow. And somebody's asking whether I'm lining myself up for PM. Definitely.
Jeez.
Definitely not. Terrible job.
Kai, I won't vote for you.
You won't vote for me?
Would you vote for him over Keir
friends.
Starmer?
Yes.
Yes, I would actually.
I would as well.
Because I could take him out for a drink and force him to do what I wanted eventually.
Is that a promise or a threat?
Right, yeah, it sounds like a threat.
Goodness me.
Well, what you guys think of him, it's not a compliment, is it?
No, well, if this is anything to go by, it's going to be a very lively hour. But let's crack on with tonight's main event. Yeah, today Robert Jenrick has claimed in an article, I believe for The Telegraph, that the government is losing control to Islamists because they believe it's too challenging to confront them. Writing today in The Telegraph, the Shadow Justice Secretary argued that the police have lost their authority and are capitulating to Islamists, going so far as to collaborate with them, as allegedly shown by the ban on Maccabi fans at Villa Park. So tonight we're debating, is the government giving in to Islamists? Seconds out, it's round one. Who's taking it?
I will. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Of course it is the short answer. It is, and we've got a body of evidence that now stretches over 40 years to make this case. We are fully aware that for over 40 years, the infrastructure of the state has turned a blind eye to the crimes of predominantly Pakistani Muslim men out of largely cowardice. But you see it in the day-to-day in simple things like the way that pro-Palestinian protesters are treated compared to pro-Israel protesters. You see it in the reticence to touch the halal slaughter debate, despite the fact that they're very keen to look for the pro-lobster movement. You can see it in all manner of ways where it is patently obvious that there is this toxic mix of cowardice and self-interest from this Labor Party. There is a cowardice which says that we are either afraid of being called a racist, or we're afraid of the physical threats that can come from Islamic extremists. But there's also, and I think this is almost more reprehensible, this terrible self-interest that says that because of the demographic shifts in this country, we need to appease a Muslim voting bloc. Because there are several politicians, amongst them Wes Streeting, amongst them Angela Rayner, who will, in all likelihood, lose their seats because of Islamic voting blocs to Islamic candidates. The Labor Party are well aware of that, and as a result of that, in conjunction with the fact that the only religion that they continue to cling on to is multiculturalism, they are more than happy to cave in to the demands of Islamists, and they have done so in West Midlands, they do so across the country, they will continue to do so unless something is done about it.
Are there issues with extreme Islam? Of course there are, but there are 4 million Muslims living in this country. You know, when I hear this argument again and again and again, I actually hear the reform effect. I hear a conservative leadership that are absolutely terrified of reform, so they're trying as much as possible to put on reform's clothing, and it's so lacking in authenticity. It's absolute nonsense. You know, do you see gangs of Muslims running around the country dressed like the Taliban? Do you see gangs of Muslims in Parliament controlling how we vote? If that was the case, there would be no liberty in this country, no gay marriage, none of the things that these Islamists and these extremists stand for. What I actually see is security services doing their absolute best to actually make a difference, to tackle extremism, to keep us safe. And what do we get in return for that? All of this dog whistling from Robert Jenrick is absolute nonsense. Again, I'll say it again. Of course there are issues within certain demographics, for sure. But this whole thing like it's all been taken over by these scary Islamists, and oh my God, it's absolute nonsense. It really is.
Well, let's ground this in the actual case that we're discussing, which is the West Midlands Police. There is now undisputable evidence that evidence was falsified by West Midlands Police to minimise the threat of particular Islamic groups within that community and to artificially maximise the threat of Maccabi supporters. The question has to be asked, Trey, why? Why are they doing that? For me, the only answer is cowardice. The only answer is because there is a legitimate threat from particular parts of the Islamic community, and they're too afraid to A, say that, but B, then confront it.
Well, shall we open it up to the panel? Alex, what do you say to what Will's just said? Why is it then? And is this endemic, or are these just some small specific instances like we saw in the West Midlands?
Well, I'll give an update on West Midlands, actually, because the Telegraph are reporting this evening that secret dossiers revealed police covered up the threats of Maccabi players. West Midlands Force claimed it was a peaceful match, but actually their internal logs, according to the Telegraph, reported sights of Asian youths looking to fight, 15 to 20 of them masked up heading in direction of the stadium. It is, again, this pandering to Asian communities, Muslim men, that the West Midlands Police Force have been proven time and time again to be completely in fear of. Completely in fear of. The same with the riots as well. We saw the police delegating police responsibility to what they called community leaders, which aren't police. They are people who lead mosques, for example. This kind of pandering would never happen in any other community. So unfortunately, the evidence is there. Whether you like it or not, Trey, the fact is you're wrong, and the evidence is quite clear now.
Do you know what I hear and see? I think there's a lot of sort of football hooliganism. You know, it'd be the same thing when you see Pakistan fighting India.
Right.
No, there is an element of that. There are people that have been riled up, but are these people actual terrorists, or are they looking for a fight against people that they feel, not me, that they feel are completely against them, people that they feel hate Islam? And that's one of the issues I've got. It's just so divisive.
No,
Is
it
it lone wolves,
or is this endemic?
It isn't lone wolves, and actually, Trey, they're not looking to have fights with people that hate Islam. They're looking to have fights with Jews because they don't like Jews. They are anti-Semitic. Say it for what it is, because we've just heard, if you watched any of that select committee, what it is. But more importantly, this is much broader. Everything that Will said is correct, but it's much broader than that. We have seen so many towns from Scotland down to, you know, the south of the country turned into ghettos where a lot of the people there do wear clothes like the Taliban today. Just go to Whitechapel in the day and look at the men walking around
so
and
there's
the
an issue
women.
where people dress, because if you go to other communities, they also dress a little bit different.
What about when there were shouts for jihad on the streets of London and the Met Police, rather than saying that is unacceptable call to violence, and intifada, another what I think is a global call to terrorism, the police did nothing about it.
They did say go put your weapons back in the mosque.
Well, that was during the riots.
This is the problem, I think.
There is a two-tier policing trait, and unfortunately, I want to be fair because I really love the police in our country, and I think they deserve our respect.
They do.
However, where they are going wrong, we need to call it out, and we need to be honest.
100%.
Because there is a capturing of the police force when it comes to the issue of Islamism.
No, 100%. I think what it is, though, as well, is political correctness, and I think we've had that for a long time. And I'm against that. If it wasn't for political correctness, you wouldn't have had all of these women up in the north, you know, going for what they did with the grooming gang. That is a problem, political correctness. What I don't like is this blanketing of 4 million Muslims, most of which absolutely despise these extremists. They despise these extremists.
Excellent.
They come from countries trying to get away from them.
Why don't I ever hear them calling them out?
So you believe that a group should always be responsible for what someone else does? It's a bit like when people say about not all men. It's like, OK, so if a man attacks a woman, all men should then call it out? Do you see what I'm saying?
I think all men should call it out,
Then
Jay.
that's the same rationale that they use. That's the same rationale they use.
When a man rapes a woman, all men should call it out.
That's the same rationale they use against Jews, and it's vile. If Israel does something wrong, then Jews somehow all over the world does something.
There are moderate Muslims in this country.
There are extremists who will blame Jews going about their ordinary business. We saw it in Australia for something that Israel is doing thousands of miles again. That's vile and it's disgusting.
Why are all these moderate Muslims that we hear about all the time not speaking loudly about these bad Muslims?
Can I just say, I think there needs to be more Muslim voices speaking up. I do hear Muslim voices, and I do have them on my shows, and I do speak to them, and they're frustrated they don't hear more from moderate Muslims. There are people in this country who are Muslim who have contributed great things to Britain, and I want those people here. However, there is not enough calling out of radical Islamism in some of those communities, and that needs to be done far better. You're absolutely right.
Where are the imams?
Do you know
calling
one
out
of the reasons why?
imams?
They probably, some of them, I imagine. Now, I'm just speculating, right? But I think some of them don't want to be joining something that they think is going to be used against them. I suspect that's probably an issue.
There's also a lot of pressure.
They're probably scared, Trey, like we are.
Yes, there's a lot of pressure from the radical Islamists in the communities that do wield a lot of power. Hence why the police need to be less scared of calling things out, because moderate Muslims, if they're moderate, will go along with the police, and the radicals will be the ones who show their face. That's why the police need to be engaged in a more direct way and need to stop pandering. You wouldn't see them pandering to Catholics, you wouldn't see them pandering to Hindus, you wouldn't see them pandering to the Jewish community. It is unfortunately a problem that they have with the Muslim community. They don't do it for blacks either, by the way. You know, they don't pander to black people.
They do a little bit, because when we all locked down, Black Lives Matter marches happened.
Well, yes, that's true. That is true. But it hasn't historically been the case.
Yeah. Can I just ask one question back to Will, just as we come to a close? Most people, when you see conspiracy, actually, surely it's usually incompetence. Why do you believe it is conspiracy?
Because we watched the Select Committee in the week. Did you watch it?
Yes, but that is one instance, right? But to believe that this is endemic across, that it's more to do with actually the fact that the police have funding spread across all sorts of different useless crimes that they shouldn't be prosecuting.
Grooming gangs?
Well, exactly. That's the symptom of the same cause.
It's
political correctness.
They have politicised the police force. Governments have made them be accountable to things like safety groups, safety action groups, which is what's happened in the West Midlands, and that is part of the issue. You put politics into the police, and then of course the police are going to become political. They need to be kept separate from politics. They need to be enforcing the law. That is their only job.
But bureaucracy and incompetence are part of it rather than malice.
No,
I think.
if I gave you two very clear reasons why incentives are involved here at a political level. Number one, because they are trying to appeal to particular Islamic voting blocs, and number two, because they're scared. This isn't a conspiracy. It's very obvious why they would act in this way at a political level, and it's very obvious why they would act this way at a policing level.
But we're still talking about 4 million. It's not exactly a big electorate, is it? 4 million people out there.
Well, it is the way that the demographic trend is shifting, Trey, I think is the key point.
And also how those are concentrated.
And they vote in blocks, yeah.
We're going to be talking about this plenty more in the months to come, I'm sure, but still to come tonight.
With me all. Hands up, Venezuela! Hands up, Venezuela!
Hands up, Venezuela. It's
Was that
catchy.
the man?
It's catchy. But next, Alex talked about this earlier. Pubs face an impossible task of selling an extra 1.3 billion pints a year. Yes, you heard that right. Just to cover Labour's tax hike.
Know why I'll do it.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to the Saturday Five. I've had a coffee and a Strepsil now, so hopefully my voice won't be quite as annoying for me and indeed for you over the next 45 minutes. Please do keep getting in contact at gbnews.com/yoursay. Get your questions in for Ask the Five. But actually, we've got a very exciting interview that I think we all want to jump right into. Britain's pubs are on the brink, as we've talked about, with landlords warned that they need to pull an astounding 1.3 billion extra pints just to survive Labour's tax hike. Can we do the maths on how many per person that is. So I warrant we could do a fair
It's not many for you.
go of it. Not many for me, no, that is true. The British Beer and Pub Association is warning that pubs are facing a £150 million rise in annual costs as a result of changes to business rates that are forcing many to raise prices or close for good, with one pub already shutting every day. Now the pressure is piling on Rachel Reeves to backtrack as campaigners warn this could be the final nail in the coffin for the Great British Pub. Well, to discuss this, I'm very pleased to welcome the grumpy landlord, so-called, the Hoggin Horsley, Luke Honeychurch. Luke, thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, we've heard a bit in that introduction just there, but can you spell out over the past few years all the different sort of policy measures and hits that pubs have taken to get us to where we are today?
The last few years, have been horrific for pubs. It's been, VAT, national insurance increases, minimum wage increases, beer duty. It's energy. Energy bills are absolutely through the roof. It's literally anything you can think of seems to have been hitting us over the last few years. And whilst we've clung on and we've been keeping an eye out for that light at the end of the tunnel, thinking we'll be able to turn the corner and hopefully be able to get back on our feet. The latest budget news, specifically with regards to business rates, has been catastrophic for the industry.
And can you just put today into perspective for you as a pub landlord? How's the reality now different for you compared to, say, a few years ago? What are the pressures that you're under right now with staff and with costs and so on?
It's massive. I took the pub on at the start of the pandemic, and obviously the pandemic years were extremely hard, but this is harder. What I've been putting out in the press recently is I'm taking home about £6 an hour equivalent for the hours I'm working. The reality is probably less, because even this last month, since I started the Grumpy Landlord on Facebook and started getting a bit of momentum with it, things have got worse. Staffing is currently impossible, where previously as an industry we were known for employing youngsters and giving them those first jobs and a chance to learn how to go into the working world. It's almost impossible now because minimum wage has gone up to such a degree, and there's national insurance implications and all the rest of it, and it is just a really bleak picture we're looking at, and there doesn't seem to be a future anymore with how things currently stand.
Now, presumably you welcome this planned U-turn from Rachel Reeves. Have you been encouraged by the reaction from the November budget and what you've sort of seen people coming out, they're quite up in arms about the battering that the pub industry is taking? What does that really mean for you guys? Have you felt that in the trade that you're seeing passing through?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hospitality trade historically are very easy to hit with more and more tax. We'll take it lying down. We're not in any way united. We don't have a big voice, not like the farmers at least have with NFU. They're able to mobilise as one, and we don't as an industry have that. There is the BBPA, there's UK Hospitality, there's all these smaller segments, but there's not one big uniting body to hold us together. And what has come out of this, out of the Grumpy Landlord, out of a lot of other people I've been speaking to on socials, and as a result of this, is there is actually a huge amount of public backing, and there's a huge amount of interest within the industry to unite and come as one. There is very soon to be officially announced, but there is a new body coming together that I'm part of. There's a small group of people who have a very vested interest in the independent pub sector, the independent brewing sector, which is the IPA, the Independent Pubs. I nearly said association, sorry. But it's the Independent Pubs Alliance. But the plan here is that we can actually represent the independent pubs. The UK Hospitality, BBPA, all the people who've put their names to the ratings document on which our rates are going up astronomically are not representing our interests. There's no one there at the table representing independent pubs, and independent pubs have such a huge societal value. It's not about beer. It couldn't be less about beer, really. It's about meeting friends, making friends, joining teams, fighting loneliness, seeing people, and building community.
And
And that happens a lot more often in a small independent village or town pub than it does in one of the large chains, who are the only people currently being represented.
Do you mind if I just jump in and ask you this quick question? Sorry, Kai, to interrupt you, but do you think that the Labour government doesn't like pubs? Because I get the impression that they are, for some reason, and I can't pin as to why the reason is, they seem to dislike you guys because you are one of the most hard-hit industries and occupations in Britain at the moment. Do you think they dislike you?
It certainly feels that way. Whether or not you want to go with the sort of tinfoil hat and say they're specifically targeting us because they don't like us, I don't know. But they are definitely targeting us. They're targeting an industry that has been historically very easy to target. There has been no way for us to stand up for ourselves. But I think what they seem to be really blind to is the fact if you tax us to such a degree, we all shut, which is a reality, I think, for independent pubs. Within the next 18 months, 2 years, independent pubs will almost be totally obliterated. There will not be any business rates. There will not be any VAT coming from that. There will not be any work opportunities for youngsters. There will be so many more people sat at home on benefits. And I think it's really short-sighted to tax us to such a point that it's actually going to cost the economy significantly more money in such a short space of time.
Yeah, well, one pub goer that loves to take a pint is Will Kingston. Will, do you want to come in quickly?
No, I'm going to push a little short ball off to Renee because I have one ready to go.
I do. Hi, Luke. I was just wondering, we've also got coming down the line the drink driving plan. Do you see that affecting rural pubs as well? Is that going to make them sort of untenable in terms of going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really sensitive issue. I think, of course, drink driving is a horrific thing, and it's something as publicans we combat on a daily basis. As part of our licensing condition is to stop it. However, having one pint with a meal could potentially now be pushing you over the limit. And I think when government is very London-centric and you can jump on a bus, a taxi, a tube or whatever to get home, fine. But for rural pubs, that is not an option. And for my pub in our village, there's 2 buses a day. Taxis won't come out to us from the nearest town after probably 8 p.m. It's impossible. And so for people not to be able to stop for a pint on the way home from work, to bump into the plumber they need to book a job with, or to go out for a meal and have pint of shandy, but that's potentially going to put them over the limit, I think is yet another nail in the coffin for rural hospitality.
I think that's really interesting, and I think that's what the general feeling is from people who just live outside of the great conurbations. What do you think the solution is? Because I don't think, if this isn't going to be enough, the business rates, what else could the government do to make pubs viable?
So I think, firstly, on the business rates, depending on where you've looked at the news, it's either a U-turn or a watering down. And I think nothing but a full U-turn will do. It has to be a full U-turn, accompanied by urgent reform of the rating system. The way hospitality businesses are assessed for rates is ridiculous, and it's not at all on par with any other industry. And it needs reform, and it needs transparency, because even my own local MP can't tell me how rates are calculated for hospitality, and that's utter madness. So the rates themselves need a full U-turn. The rating system needs massive reform. But beyond that, VAT currently in this country for hospitality is unfair. You look at the majority of Europe, and it may be roughly 20% for retail, but about 10% for hospitality. And I think that's Europe truly seeing the value of what hospitality is as an industry. It's not just about selling booze. It's the massive social impact we have and how valuable we are. And that is really important. Of course, beer duty always goes up every budget, and we'd love for that to come down too. And I think there also needs to be, a look at things as a whole, and just how we're not asking for handouts, but we've been punished in so many ways for so many years. And someone could take responsibility for hospitality as an industry and go, how can we just create some fairness, give people a fighting chance? We work our butts off every day just to provide for our families. I've happily taken below minimum wage for 6 years because I love the community, but I can't do that forever if there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Well, Luke, just before you go, we've heard what the government can do. What can viewers do to support the pub industry and support you as well?
Get out and go to your pub. I know it's dry January. If you're doing dry January, get there. There's amazing 0% beers out there now.
Yeah.
Pop in for one more pint. I know it's expensive. We don't want to be charging £6, £7, £8, £9, £10 if you're in London a pint. We don't want to be charging it, but the government have given us no choice. If you can do it, pop out and have another beer. But get on Facebook, Instagram, X, all the rest of it. Share this as much as you can, because at the minute we need to be heard. The Independent Pubs Alliance, we've got those pages on socials already. please give us a look, give us a share, get behind us, because with support, I think we can do something about this, but we need to do it now.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Not grumpy at all, the grumpy landlord, Luke Honeychurch. It's a fascinating discussion, isn't it? I mean, it seems to me that the government has, again, finally realised the error of its ways. But actually, the problem started so much earlier that much more targeted support is needed on top of just this U-turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not as simple as it as we had to do this move in COVID, so this was a natural thing to happen. Because in between, there's lots of things that have gone on top. And I think the government need to put more store by the value in the community of a pub than they did. Pubs used to be the recruiting place of a village and of a town. They really did. It was where people exchanged ideas and job offers.
The other thing is that we looked at the incredible costs that are being added on to run a pub. We didn't even talk about increased costs of living, which is making it harder for people to go to the pub to actually be able to buy a pint, which is an added problem that they have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, still to come tonight.
So, I mean, I'm just walking around kind of just dayside because I was like, I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It feels kind of wrong being here in some way. I don't know why.
We love those. I'm sure you certainly do. But next, debanking is hitting a record high with nearly 500,000 UK accounts closed. We'll be talking about that after the break.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Strong winds are expected across eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, heavy rain will affect parts of Turkey into Cyprus as well. This system is gradually moving away, so it's going to dry up across Greece and the Greek islands early next week. A few showers eastern parts of Italy, otherwise plenty of fine weather, and Spain's looking reasonable. Sunny spells, average temperatures. Likewise for the Canaries, plenty of fine weather to come during the days ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing. All because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day. So the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland. But this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all. And it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Alex, shut up.
Sorry.
Come on.
I just read a very funny comment on your side.
All this back chat. What is it? Go on.
No, I can't read it out loud. God, I'll be in too much trouble. I'll be in too much trouble. I'll read out the other funny one. I'll read another funny one. Someone said it's all gone down the Starmer. I like that. It's quite funny, really. It's quite good.
Saying for the show.
New saying for the show. It's all gone and Starmered.
All going Starmer up.
It's all gone Starmered up.
Well, we have been getting your comments in, but what we do need is a few Ask the 5 questions for the 8 p.m. So do get them in. Remember to put Ask the 5 in your comment by visiting gbnews.com/your say. But now, next, it's time for this. Yes, it's the bunch of 5. Any stories you may have missed, any stories that we picked up that you might want to hear about. Will, what are you taking us through today?
Yeah, well, loyal viewers would be aware that I've been just a tad critical of the Pope. This is the same bloke, after all, that blessed a block of ice recently in order to find some sort of spiritual way to deal with the climate crisis. But I can say, to the Pope, your woke sins are forgiven, because he has come out with one of the most base takes I've heard from a religious leader in recent times on the issue of free speech. Let's hear it.
It is painful to see how, especially in the West, the space for genuine freedom of expression is rapidly shrinking. At the same time, a new Orwellian-style language is developing, which, in an attempt to be increasingly inclusive, ends up excluding those who do not conform to the ideologies that are fueling it.
Hallelujah. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
No notes.
I think I would have had that as my high five.
It could have well and truly been either.
Yeah.
Could have been both.
Yeah,
I thought, it's perfectly summarised.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so refreshing because, of course, as you said, I was getting a little bit worried, actually, about the new Pope, because he seemed to be getting quite woke at one point, and I was thinking, for goodness sake. I mean, how much more can Christianity stomach? But actually, it's good to see him actually say some things. He also called out the genocide of Christians in parts of Africa as well. So maybe I thought about him being woke.
Yeah, he wasn't just woke. He wasn't just woke. He was just American, right?
Well,
that was the mistake we were making. Dr. Renee, what do you have for us?
OK, so I actually wrote a piece on the GB News website about this week because I didn't see anybody else pick up on this. So, yeah, absolutely.
Armstrong-esque, some would say.
Yeah. Well, learn from the best, they say, Will. Learn from the best.
So nobody else seemed to pick up on this, that the Admiral that appeared at the Remembrance Sunday event, dressed as an Admiral, but he wasn't really one, was up in front of a judge this week, within 8 weeks of the offence. If only we could do that to rape victims, eh? And he was given a suspended sentence, fined £500 for posing as an admiral. Now, I understand that is deeply offensive to veterans, and I'm not saying he was right. The parallel I want to draw is a man can walk outside in a dress with lippy, in a beard sometimes, and is allowed to come into my toilet, my changing room, and I'm not allowed to say anything. So it seems that once again we have two-tier rules. Men can dress up as women however they want and they get lauded and celebrated, but dress up as an admiral, the law deals with you quick.
No, because only one of those people is a fantasist.
Oh, really?
That's my view, yes.
Could you prove to me how that's so?
Well, we've discussed it many times
with a bit
on this show, but I think that calling all trans women crazy fantasists who trying to commit crimes or whatever, as you always imply, is awful. I think there was a minority of people who believe, and I believe, are born in the wrong body, and they should be allowed to identify however they wish, as long as they aren't a threat to the public, as the majority of them aren't.
Nobody is born in the wrong body.
They are by definition fantasists, Kai. By definition of the word fantasy.
Well, we've obviously disagreed on that since the very inception of our time on the show. Alex, what do you have next?
Yeah, well, worryingly, debanking is on the rise. We thought this might have got nipped in the bud after the big furore with Nigel Farage, but actually it has gone astronomically higher. So an estimated 453,000 accounts were shut down last year. That's a tenfold increase. It used to be 45,000 accounts since 2016-2017. That is exceptionally worrying. It's an 11% increase on the year before that. Now, lenders are also citing financial crime, but I cannot understand how we've gone from 45,000 bank accounts being closed in 2016-2017 to 450,000 bank accounts closed in the last year. More worrying Orwellianism.
Do you think it's that, or is there something else behind this?
Well, it's either that, or, I mean, the only other thing that's gone up in that period of time is mass migration. So unless we've brought in 400,000 financial crime people from across the world, which wouldn't surprise me, that would be the only way to justify that increase. And it's either that, or the banks are starting to tackle people with political opinions.
People were being debanked because of their opinions. I doubt any of us would have a bank account.
Oh, come on. Wait, I mean, there's so many examples.
400,000.
There's so many examples of why people... Molly Kingsley, who we spoke to last week, was debanked because she was defending children against the COVID vaccine and against schools being closed. But she was debanked, and PayPal kept her money. Thousands of it.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Oh,
I'm just saying that
should be illegal.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. It's scary, especially when we need banks as well.
There should be a right to have a bank account when we live in a society where you cannot actually function without one.
Absolutely.
They're going to force you to have digital ID. You should be allowed to have a bank at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Good point. Trey, what do you have coming up?
So I have the story, which is a bit show busy, but I think it actually cuts to something that's very almost worrying a little bit, and that's the story of Brooklyn Beckham saying to his mum and dad to contact him only through lawyers. And the reason why I say it's worrying is this. Obviously, we've got the very famous example of Harry as well. I think what's going on with some men when they get married, they sort of get into this space where they completely divorce their parents. I think it's a worrying trend. It may not be a trend, but it's actually quite worrying. I mean, certainly from the culture I come from, it would be absolutely unheard of to do anything where you would just disavow your parents. So it's a really, really interesting story for me.
I think these are only in the news because it is two very high-profile people. I'm not sure there's a suggestion that lots of men are doing this, or women. I'm going to say this about families. Never judge a family situation until you are actually in it. Because there are lots of scenarios. My dad is one of them where I wouldn't have anything to do with him. Why? Because he's been a horrible human being and not worthy of that title. And it happens. And until you go in, it looks very different from the outside than it does from the inside.
Why after marriage? That's the thing. Because if someone's a horrible human being, you would have obviously got away from them a long time ago. I'm just curious about after marriage. Is it an influence?
There's an issue going on with his girlfriend, sorry, his wife now, isn't it? And that's where it's a family feud, isn't it? But to drag it out in the press, I think, is so awful to do. And also, listen, I don't think you should have to go through lawyers to speak to each other. I think families, listen, we all have difficult family members. We're in every family, right? But I think also you should leave a door open for reconciliation, not through a lawyer.
You know, some of you are always surprised that I'm probably the least left-wing of my family. Viewers will be shocked to hear.
It's very scary.
Well, I'm up next, and the story that caught my eye this week was British Airways have axed full English breakfasts for business class travellers on some flights. So instead of a nice full English, do you know what you get?
Croissant.
A fruit plate, a yoghurt and a croissant.
It's disgusting. I'm with you on this. I'm absolutely with you. This is the worst thing that's happened all week.
It is.
Apart from me, the Venezuelans might disagree, or maybe not them, the Greenlanders for sure.
Apart from being an insult to this great country, do you know how expensive business class tickets are? And for them not even to bother with a hot breakfast is absolutely outrageous.
I think these are European flights, not the kind that you go on to Australia. That'd be pretty rough.
Yeah, but still, business, even to Scotland, a business class seat on BA is very expensive.
Very expensive,
yeah. It's actually the only time I've ever flown business properly was.
Is it? Just to
was
Scotland?
from London to Paris, and I got my nice.
Poor Kai.
Lovely food.
Should we set a GoFund page for you?
Yes.
And did you go on?
Well, I've never flown business class, so you can set one up for me while you're at it too. That'll be nice. That'll be nice.
I think it'll be the smallest violin ever.
Yeah, it really would be. Yeah.
Your champagne on arrival, so we could literally say you're a champagne socialist.
Yeah.
You know, I was at the airport recently, and I was on a flight back, and I had a couple of GB News viewers in the line with me. It was really nice, actually. It was really nice. I love it. I looked awful, so I was horrified. No makeup. But, no makeup on.
You're not orange.
I didn't have the nice orange.
No.
I didn't have a fantastic tan.
Although,
They recognised you.
I'd like to say officially that the Orange Alex is going down well with the ladies tonight.
It's going to have to stay. It's going to have to stay, isn't it?
There we go. Plenty more to come. But still, still to come tonight as well.
I tell people before, they're like, oh, you hate all men. I'm like, I've never said that, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I don't give a also, like...
If the shoe fits.
Who knows what that's about? Trigger Tantrums is coming up next. You're with the Saturday 5 live on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The University of Bristol has been threatened with legal action by a leading academic who led a recent government review into sex and gender data collection.
Well, Professor Alice Sullivan claims her freedom of speech was restricted after a talk she gave was disrupted by a trans rights protest.
Protesters actually scaled the walls of the building. We were in a first-floor lecture theatre, and they climbed the walls in order to bang on the windows and sort of howl through the windows. It felt incredibly surreal in there. It was like some kind of zombie apocalypse. And they were setting off fire alarms to very loudly disrupt my talk. Eventually, we had to all move to another lecture theatre. And I learned afterwards that people trying to attend the talk had been severely disrupted by protesters who were not asked to stand behind barriers or anything like that. They were just allowed to intimidate and obstruct people who had come to hear me speak.
It sounds like a fairly severe dereliction of duty on behalf of the university. I mean, obviously everyone has a right to protest anything, and you'd think at a university anyone would have a right to give a talk, and yet there is this sort of heckler's veto that some try to play to try and keep out ideas with which they disagree. I mean, it seems to just go against the fundamental ethos of what higher education should be in this country.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I fully support people's right to peaceful protest, but this was not a peaceful protest. It was really quite violent.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. Coming up from 8 p.m, it's Ask the 5. We have been getting more in. Send in your questions through gbnews.com/your say. And while you're at it, we've been having this discussion at the break. Pigeons. Are they the rats of the sky, or are they the cleverest bird in Britain? That's what Trey thinks.
I love them.
I think they're rats, personally.
I think it's every child's right to go to Trafalgar Square, feed the pigeons and have them on their head, and they've stopped that. It's obscene. Child abuse.
It's an absolute disgrace, people feeding pigeons. Anyway, before we have a tantrum, it's actually now time for Trigger Tantrums. You've got a free ticket to this week's maddest clowns, and usually the left-wingers tumbling over who knows what. You just wait until you see what we have in store for you. And Will is coming up first.
Yep, in the great tradition of the Omnicores, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a bloke in the dress saying something about Venezuela.
With me all. Hands up, Venezuela! Hands up, Venezuela! Hands up, Venezuela! Free President Maduro! La lucha sigue! La lucha sigue! Libertad! Liberdad, socialismo o muerte!
Honestly, like, what is going on with people?
Liberdad, socialismo.
Oh,
Catchy.
my goodness.
That'll bring them flowing out onto the streets.
It's unbelievable.
This omni-cause thing, Bill, that you mentioned, which is this new phrase that we've started to hear, isn't it, where left-wing activists, the types that go out and support Gaza, tend to support all the fashionable causes with no track record of ever doing so.
Yep.
I am with you on that. It is a bit of a nonsense.
Then they swap for the next thing. Then they swap for the next thing. Then they swap for the next thing. They've got pre-printed banners. They know what's coming. Maybe they're time travellers.
I think this is because so many young people don't have jobs anymore.
Yeah.
So they've got time to do this.
Yep. Do you think you can beat Will's trigger tantrum?
Well,
you're good to go.
You're not more confident than that.
I am confident because Will actually helped me with this one. I was struggling this week.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just see it, I think. And this is after the killing of Renee Good in America and somebody offering up their condolences.
So, I mean, I'm just walking around kind of just dayside because I was like, I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It feels kind of wrong being here in some way. I don't know why.
Why do you think, yeah?
I don't know. I don't know, like, where that stems from. Like, I mean, part of it is being like a white woman that I'm privileged and I have a lot of privilege.
This is what diversity, equity and inclusion policy has done. It has divided everybody by their race and skin colour, and you get white women who want to show their condolences but feel that they can't. We have divided people instead of uniting them.
Well, it's a mental illness. It's more than just division. These people are mentally ill. It's completely crackers.
I think it's a problem really with this.
It's what Will said.
This whole right-left stuff. I mean, a woman was killed, and it looks like in cold blood. I mean, there's nothing wrong with her. Some sort of sympathy for it, but they don't need to add on
But then
this
she
whole race stuff.
apologises that she doesn't feel her tears are worthy.
Don't get that. I have to admit, I really don't get the whole sort of white liberal stuff where they feel they've got atoned for something. It's just,
let's stick with you,
silly.
Trey. What's your tantrum?
So my tantrum is a lovely bit of misandry. Let's take a look.
Tell people before, they're like, oh, you hate all men. I'm like, I've never said that, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I don't give a also, like, yeah, don't you? Haven't you ever spent time with one? They're awful. Like, have you ever seen a group of guys out, like all straight dudes, and they're all laughing? Have you ever been like, God, I wonder what they're laughing at? No. When they're laughing, I'm going, they doing something bad, probably.
I'm like, they probably just hit a woman.
They're probably high-fiving over a slur.
True.
I bet. That's what I think.
Oh, dear.
And it's sad, isn't it? It kind of echoes what we just spoke
It's
about.
okay. It leaves more men on the market for me.
But it's also a bit of an attack, I think, on straight white men a little bit. It's that kind of totem pole of who's the bad guy. It's quite sad.
Is the inference that gay guys are off the hook here?
Yes. Probably.
and their banter's probably a lot worse.
Yeah, true. It's always the way, isn't it? It's always the way. It's like you can. It's the two-tier thing again, isn't it? You can't. You can say this stuff about men and you can laugh and joke about it, but if a man was to say this about a woman, it would be immediately cancelable.
Exactly.
And we can't have two standards. Otherwise, you're asking for a two-tier society, and that's not the equality people preach for, is it?
Yeah. That's the only other interesting thing is the radical right has now actually started to co-opt some of this identity politics and use it against lots of the sort of normalish centrists who go opted into DEI sort of stuff.
So-called woke right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, plenty to come after the break. Don't go anywhere because coming up it is the Saturday 5 Extra. We're going to let our hair down.
What was that?
Well, I was about to say, anything can happen, and in fact, it just did. So what else could go wrong? We've got plenty of Ask the Fives from you, but remember to get the comments in very quickly if you have a burning question for us. Anything could happen, so get ready. We'll be back in just a moment after the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very Unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing. All because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met obvious warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular. But milder air pushing in through the day, so the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland. But this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all. And it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
exist.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hey, it's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5 Extra. I'll keep doing it now. The UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I will. I'm Kai Wilshaw, along with Will Kingston, Renee Hunderkamp, Trey Lowe, and Christo Fufas.
Hello.
Very exciting. Tonight on the show.
Still time to get...
Well, we've got plenty to go through tonight. We're going to be getting the questions in for Ask the Five. We're going to be talking cannabis prescriptions. Princess Kate has marked her 44th birthday with a very personal message on healing and nature. Record UK Bible sales. Plenty more to go. It's 8 p.m. This is the Saturday 5 Extra, as you know. Keep getting your comments in. It's the last chance saloon for any Ask the Fives. No topics are off limits. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with Sophia Wensler.
Kai, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 8 o'clock. These are your headlines. Iran is facing international condemnation over the killing of anti-government protesters, and demonstrations have spread to London too, where a protester has climbed onto the balcony of the Iranian embassy today. At least 50 people have been killed in Iran since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. And to try and curb the growing unrest, internet and phone lines have been shut off and flights cancelled. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has issued a joint statement alongside the leaders of France and Germany, urging Tehran to exercise restraint. Donald Trump has also threatened to use force if the violence doesn't stop. Warnings for snow, ice, wind and rain remain in force this weekend as Britain braces for further wintry weather following Storm Goretti. Tens of thousands of people in England have been left without power, and one person has been killed in Cornwall following the severe weather. It's reported the Home Secretary will begin evicting migrants living in hotels from the spring. Shabana Mahmood is also expected to end the government's legal duty to automatically support asylum seekers, including stripping weekly allowances. It's understood the new measures will target migrants who can financially support themselves but choose not to. Those who have a right to work, those who break the law, and those who refuse an order to leave the country. Now, Elon Musk has accused Sir Keir Starmer's government of being fascist after ministers threatened to ban the social media site X over AI-generated sexual images. It came after Downing Street called changes to chatbot Grok